happening. There we go. Here we go. Meeting has started.
Meeting to order at 7:12.
Okay. And let's see, I can see who's here mostly. So we have Bailey and we have not Casper, Surf, Chase. Chase, are you here? Nope, not yet. Cop is here.
Yep.
Fritchie is here. Let's see. Bark, bark, bark. Neil Gardner.
Here.
Lauren, yeah, I see you, Leanne. I haven't gotten to you yet. Leanne, Emma Guinapiero's here.
Yep.
Lauren Gothier. Susan Hayline. Autumn Hanscom, Matt Ivy. Edward Jacomb's here. Jackie Massett, nope. Roscoe, nope. Emily's here. Did you have your baby, Emily? Yeah, what'd you have?
Girl.
Yoo-hoo!
What?
Oh, wow, okay. Leanne,
Thanks.
I need to send you a birth certificate. Leanne's here, are either Kristen or, nope, they're not. See, these people have been here forever, so they don't need to be here. Emily Ray is working. John Scott, Richard Cimarero, these people all know everything. Ian Thomas, nope. Jamie, are you here? BC Williams, nope. Harry Watson is here. I thought I saw Harry. Nope, he's not. Okay. Patricia Weaver is not. She's ill. Gary Wells is not. Lee is here. Amy Whitehouse, no. Huh. Larry Bright is here. Anyone else that I miss? Rusk is here. Well,
Okay.
I got everybody. You're 13. Mhm,
Jackie Cox.
mhm.
I think that was me.
Oh.
Hmm?
Richie.
Mhm.
Neil Gardner.
Yep.
Emma.
Guinapiro.
Thank you. Piero. Susan Hainline.
No, Susan's not here.
She.
Oh, there she is. Okay. Oh, there you are. 13. There we go. She picked up her, budget book. So we have 13 people here.
Yeah, and me.
Oh, hey, oh boy, that was weird. Okay. All right, so here we are. And what we're here to do is to review the budget process for the RTM. The first and foremost important thing is that the town manager has sent the budget to the council, which the council is meeting in committee of the whole. They only had one public hearing. They could have as many as they want, but they only had one on the 24th. And that link was sent to you today, I believe. That link was sent.
The public hearing link?
Didn't you send that out or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yeah, there was a link. So if you didn't go on GMTV, look for Jill Rusk's, moderator Rusk's email, because she sent out the link. And that gives you a good handle of the description of the budget from the town manager and the description of the budget. I assume it was the chairman of the Board of Ed usually does a description of what the ask is. So that's very important to see. I don't believe we're going to have another go at that. We shouldn't, because it's really the job of the council to do the public hearing, according to the township. Yeah. And they do have the ability to have another public hearing, but I understand they're not planning on it. So they have to finish their work by April 28th. So you have the schedule. It's been sent half a dozen times out, but most recently it was sent. And just watch them on the GMTV. That's the best thing to do. You can watch it at your leisure. Ooh. What was that? Somebody buzzing. Okay. So the town council will set the the annual meeting, which is what the RTM's portion is called. It's called the annual meeting. And that takes the place of what other towns do, which is a town meeting. And a town meeting may actually adjourn to a referendum. You'll hear about that in other towns. We don't do that in Groton because our charter spells R.T.M. is the keeper of the budget in any expenditure over $10,000 and other things. So you're going to get the budget to start working on it on May 2nd. And there may be subsequent meetings. We'll certainly schedule them, but this body may choose to do it all in one night. You never know. It's been done before. So without that, I don't know if everybody has their charter that's here. I think they do. I have the sign off sheet. I brought charters for those that didn't, but you're not here. You all have your charters, right? Do you have a charter? It is online also, and I know that some. He picked it up. He picked it up. Yeah.
Oh,
He that's the special act. No,
no,
the
this one.
charter. Okay. But
yeah.
the budget book everybody has, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so in the table of contents, you'll see all the items that will, under town function are the actual accounts that you'll be taking up. There's other information that is valuable. The letter from the town manager, he just kind of gives you an overview of his impression of the budget. And then each subcommittee of the R.T.M. will have and do have assigned accounts. Those have already been distributed, and those accounts will be reviewed and recommendations will be given to the full R.T.M. starting May 2nd. We have a tally sheet. It's an Excel spreadsheet that we in the finance department and the town clerk's office keep maintained of all the results of the council, the committee of the whole, and also the subcommittees, whatever the subcommittees recommend. So you'll have access to that information as it happens. We'll send out, it's a lot of stuff. We'll see a lot of emails, but we'll certainly name them different things so you won't get them mixed up. So it'll be based on date. The names will be based on date. So that's very handy. So you'll know what you're coming up to. Also, the minutes of committee meetings will be available also for everyone to view. So really, you'll have all the information. Most committees should be finished by May 2nd. That's the goal. And so we start May 2nd and we'll be ready to go, hopefully. Committee chairs, I'll be calling you tomorrow, but if you haven't set your meetings. Those that have already know. So let's look at the information that I'd sent out by email. And it's the first page that I'd like you to look at is titled Procedure of Handling a Budget Motion for a fictitious account 99. It's not a real count. So so the town manager's request is $100,000. Now the town council may go over that, may make that they may approve a higher amount than the town manager. But the R.T.M. when they get it, let's say, that I don't want to step too far. So you have $100,000, the council cut it by 10, and then it comes to the R.T.M. and the committee chair of the R.T.M. moves that a $95,000 be approved. The moderator points out that committee members that are above the council has to be a 2/3 vote of the entire R.T.M. Okay, those present, I shouldn't say the entire, it's those present of the meeting. Okay, so there was an amendment to make it even more money. And so moderator again said 2/3 of the body. So, and at the top, it does say 24 would be the appropriate 2/3 to succeed. It goes through and you'll understand that the first motion that was put on the floor stays there. The first amendment is there, and there can be another amendment, which there is, for $80,000. Now, once the discussion is finished on that second amendment, the moderator may call to vote on that second amendment first. Sounds backwards, but it isn't. The last number tally,
Last is first.
the last is first. The reason why this is set up this way is you have a main number, and a main number can only have 2 amendments. So that's just how the procedure will work. It's worked for many, many years. And what you'll see is the second amendment may fail, and someone will put another second amendment on before this first amendment is voted on. That's perfectly legal. It happens all the time. We will have a whiteboard on that the moderator will be writing these numbers on, so you'll be able to see them. Yeah, hopefully we'll all be in person. It's a little difficult to view everything at the Thrive 55 Living Dangerously Club, whatever they call themselves now.
You used to put it in the chat before, right? Putting in the
Yeah, that's what we did. That's what we did when we were all Zoom,
It will just take a lot longer.
if we have to put it in the chat.
Correct.
Mhm. So we'll work it out the best we can. I encourage people to attend if they can. Okay, so we're back to the second amendment. It's defeated, and the first amendment is called to vote on, and that's defeated. And so the main motion is back on the floor. And that motion also is defeated. So now there's no amount there. So the moderator declares a recess, and after the recess, it's prudent to continue it with at least another account before getting back to this one, because there's obviously a problem. There's not going to be a consensus. The rule is if the R.T.M. cannot approve that budget, the council's number stands, and that's the way it is. So the motion is made to reconsider. Oh, someone made a motion to reconsider, and that has to be from someone who was on the prevailing side. So in this case, it was the motion failed. So someone who voted to oppose the number, they're the ones that may bring a motion to reconsider back. And so they bring this, they put that on the floor, the motion to reconsider. That vote has to be at least 12 voting no on the main motion. But anyway, it goes on. It goes on. The idea is we will come up with a budget. I have never seen a time that the R.T.M. in my memory, and I bet Harry Watson will say the same thing. He's been there as long as I have. We've never not had a budget approved. So one budget I do want to talk to you about is the Board of Ed budget. Representative Wright brought up the question, what do we do with that budget? We can't do anything, can we? And it seems like you can't, but the truth of it is towns are not allowed to approve a budget that is lower than last year's approved budget. That's the minimum budget requirement, MBR. You'll hear that over and over again. MBR, that's the minimum budget requirement. It's a state statute that was created because a lot of small towns were gutting their Board of Ed budgets. And so people were moving to the rich towns to go to the public schools because the richer towns in the west side of the state, they were funding their schools. So the legislators said, wait a minute, we have to put something in to keep the stability in budgets. So that's why you can't go below what the approved budget was last year.
And that's only Board of Ed.
Only Board of Ed.
And is that based on like number of students or something?
Nope. Nope.
Straight number.
Straight number.
That's just gonna end up being, I mean, I think that's certainly something to consider when we keep raising it, because the number's just gonna keep going higher and higher.
Yeah, 10 years from now, it could be 125 million.
Can you hear the representative speaking? Yeah, okay, good, okay.
But like you said, you can only vote on it as an entirety. You cannot, it's either yes or no.
Oh, right, right. You can't go line by line and say, don't put a swimming pool here, put a puddle pool over there. You can't do that.
So
That's
for-
true.
For the Board of Ed, we vote on one number,
Run number. Mhm.
and then there can be amendments lower than that, but only down to
What last year's budget,
Last year's budget.
77.
right?
So this process, does this happen on the like April 26th date? That is the regular meeting, or is this every time? This is Saturday? Like I'm looking
Oh.
at this agenda, like when does this come into?
When will we get the budget?
Yeah,
The RTM?
yeah,
May 2nd.
okay.
May 2nd.
Yeah, this one.
I got that information yesterday. The agenda has not, the agenda actually went out today for the town council committee of the whole special meeting to set that annual meeting, and then the council will, and right after they do it, the council will take it up. I don't think it needs to go to committee, but that's,
Can I jump in?
Sure.
So as the town council starts approving things or, putting forward different numbers or approving different numbers, it will go to your committee. So what, I don't know what committee you're
Uh,
at.
Finance.
So you'll get a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have more than one. I know the first meeting has been set for the 7th, right? April 7th.
Start
Mhm.
getting things.
And so I'll do a whole bunch of committee, like a bunch of these all at once. Like,
Correct.
that's great.
And we'll link
Yeah.
up.
But Emma's asking about the finance committee. The finance committee, the problem that you'll find is there's some accounts that cannot be decided until after the whole budget's being, the CIP budget. If you cut something in that will change your budget, your bottom line budget, what we have to raise. So we have to put aside a certain amount of money in the fund balance, and that's supposed to cover your CIPs. So right now we have a fund balance account number, but if the RTM changes those fundings, we've got to change that too. So that's why there's a capital improvement budget. Oh, a capital improved project.
I just want to make sure everybody.
Oh, yeah.
knows that.
CIP. That's right. That's right. Well, we should have probably digested the budget book a little better than just there it is. But we do have a in the back of the yeah, there is a glossary, but on page it's B, section B is the section with all the capital improvement programs for proposed, and they're 5-year programs. So you'll see, these are really confusing. You'll see, let's go to page, well, it's page, go to section B in your budget. In the back. Hmm?
This week. There.
But you said.
Oh,
Page-
I
page-
just looked at you at
yeah,
page 1.
yeah. Okay, go to page 3, so that's the first one, and it's roads. We've got a lot of roads in town. Actually, we don't. A lot of them are state roads. So you'll see in section 1, under roads, A, B, C, E, F, and I, the different programs. And when we go further into the programs, you'll see descriptions of those roads. So on page 7, we see the first one listed, Town Pavement Management Program. On page 7 is the town's responsible for funding and maintaining 132 miles of roads, and going on and on and on. So you can see down in the recommended financing block at the bottom, you'll see the source of funding. C is capital, that's capital. Reserve fund, that's the one that we fund with taxpayers' money. And then if there were any other funding source, O or G, like a bond, you'd see that. But all this is coming out of capital. I think many of you might remember that the town put out a bond to pave roads some years ago, and that's coming to a complete end. I think it is. I think it has ended. Yeah. And that, we had to pay interest on that. So this town manager believes that we ought to pay as we go. So you're going to be discussing that. And so 2023 budget asking for 850 million. When you see numbers in there, it's millions.
Where are you seeing?
At the bottom, recommended financing, under, on page 7.
Anything after 3.
Every number asks, 3 zeros.
But it's 850,000 million, right?
Well, if you look at 2024, it's 1.2 million.
Yes, yes.
Mhm. But this year, they were asking 850 million.
850,000.
50,000.
850,000, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a big one, 850,000. And so it, it does 1.2 the rest of the years, right? Mhm. So let's find one that has other funding
So for this year, we are just looking to approve the 850,000.
for construction, yep.
Construction for page 7.
And that's, and you can see the list of roads that will be funded for 850,000. It says Boulder Court, Buddington Road. Well, it's certain parts of it. It's not the whole thing. Hemlock, Laurelwood, Lamont Road, Meredith Road, and Stonecrest Road.
Page 13.
Okay, we're gonna flip to page 13. More roads.
There's more letters.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So page 13 is road underpass. And it's kind of interesting. It's this is the Amtrak line overpass on Paquonic Road. Boy, do we have problems with that one, right? It's so low. I think it's like 11 feet, 6, I think 11.6, what I remember. Oh, so for, no, that's low too. This is on Paquonic Road, which Paquonic Road,
To the left is the other
By
side.
Avery
Park. The other side is the gas station.
yeah, before you get to Village, the senior housing.
Is that not maintained by Amtrak?
Well, I mean, it's the road we're talking about. The bridge is Amtrak, but the road is the town. So I don't know what they're planning to do, but we're gonna find out. Purcell Associates in 2016 were retained by the town to conduct an engineering study. And so what I want you to do is look at the recommended financing. So for this year, there's not going to be any request. There's no request for this year at all. But in 2024, I'm not really sure what that it's $160,000 for planning and engineer, but it's pointing to maybe that.
My understanding
Oh,
is
okay, that's the engineering for the construction for 2026 budget. Mhm. Mhm. So you can see that, and that's capital funding, but there's also general bond obligations for that construction in 2026. So that means that the town is planning on putting a bond referendum because it's $2.2 million. The town may fund any project $750,000 up to $750,000 without a bond. So they could put it piecemeal, 750,000 here, 750 there, but it's hard to do that with some things. So that's why 2.2 million has to be a bond. Have
Hey, I have a
confused you?
question.
Sure.
Why on page 3 are some of the letters skipped? Like under 6, there's A, then it goes to C, D, I.
Because those are different projects every year. Maybe next year you'll see E and J, you know.
Oh,
It-
okay.
Yeah, they just sign a different letter for the project.
Oh, and it stays constant every year? Or,
No, it doesn't usually. I mean, you might see some
Oh.
similar numbers in letters year by year, but you can see even sometimes it's a different item for A or B, you know?
oh,
Um,
okay.
Yeah, there's no really, it's just when they put together the capital projects, they use up whatever alphabet isn't already being used currently.
And like what we were looking at was G, but because there's no money requested for this year, G shouldn't appear, right? Like that's what it is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. Did you hear what Emma said? You know, if you, oops, I mean, sorry, I'm sorry. So what was said is that G isn't being funded this year, so you're not gonna see it listed in the on page 3.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly right. You know, capital improvement projects, CIPs, take the beating, typically, but what happens is if you don't maintain your buildings and your roads, it's only gonna get worse. So, you know, I don't, to me, the most important things in the town that we should maintain are roads, so you can get to work, schools, so you can educate your children, you know, and the police budget, so we can keep order. Everybody else, you know, Parks and Rec, that's just nice stuff. You know, that's just nice. We don't have to do that. So the CIP always takes a beating.
It's the easiest thing for people to cut.
Well, it's a big number. You can see it.
Yeah.
Although you'll also watch the town council fight over $7,000. They will. They'll debate that for 3 hours. You know, for some of the outside agencies, which, you know, it's not a lot of money that we give to these agencies, and they're doing an awful lot with a little bit. So
Can you also explain, I think I would have wanted this question asked, the difference between the accounts and then the CIPs, and how sometimes they would put it in for a CIP because they don't want to put it in their actual account, because they'd just be asking for more money.
well, that would be maybe like water pollution control or the Board of Ed. I mean, but they're projects that are capital projects. They're a 5-year extension. So you're not going to put a project in there like, I want to put in a new ceiling in my office, but I don't want to put that in my budget. I want to put that in capital project because it's going to take more years than one to fund it. I've got to have somebody design it and make sure that we can procure the grant that I'm after, you know, and all that. So it would take longer to do. That's why it's a CIP. I don't believe that's true, that a department would put something in CIP to avoid it being in their budget. I really don't. I mean, do you have an instance that?
Well, I'm just looking, I mean, just now, I'm just looking at just like page 8 and page 9, one of those is the Groton Long Point Bridge, but that's all gonna be on this one budget. Like, obviously, it's a massive project.
Okay, so remember, the town is responsible for all roads in the town of Groton. Not the state roads. So you've got highways 1, and I mean, there's a lot of state roads. We do. Route 1, even though we have a different name, New London and whatever, you know, different name, it's still the state road. And we get a lot of calls about potholes on state roads. So, and there is a number to call to report it, but you know, I think our town actually puts material in those holes because they don't want it. They don't want anybody to get hurt, you know, so you lose it. Yeah, anyway, so that project, the Groton Long Point Bridge project, is a town project, not Groton Long Point. That's town road.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying that it's gonna still be completed in that 1 year, where they're gonna be, that's their intention, at least for the money. I'll keep that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. So, yeah, because I think we funded
Page 13.
9.
9.
9.
Yeah, for the Groton Long Point Bridge. I believe that we funded, yep, we did. In 2019, the town funded $300,000 for preliminary engineering. So this has been a CIP project for quite some time. And in 2023, they're asked oh, that's okay. The anticipated cost for that whole project is between $6 and $8 million. So there's going to have to be a bond on that. I would say they're not forecasting it in the CIP, but if you see that number in the second paragraph, on page 9, it talks about the anticipated cost being in the range of $6 and $8 million. I wouldn't doubt it. That'll be a meeting to listen to. Yeah. So the section A, so we're in B, let's go back to section A. That's the subdivision funding request, Groton Long Point, and the city of Groton. that doesn't have a page, it's section A, section A. Mhm, Section A. Groton Linkwood. So I did send email, I emailed, and I didn't make copies here, but Representative Wright brought his copy of the special act that was 1933, that was the legislature passed, that's told the town of Groton that you will pay for the lights and the roads in Groton Long Point.
Groton City.
This, I mean, Groton City, okay, and then in 1956, 55, Groton Long Point also got the same dispensation. So that's, it's just not even argued about the, but I do want to, we have a moderator, Russ, who knows a lot about this, but I have an opinion. The city budget that we look at is built differently than the town budgets.
They've tried to do like apples to apples.
Have they?
Yes, they've tried to make it mirror how the town does it. The problem is the city budget will have CIPs in it,
That's right.
because there's no way to pull them out and put them under just CIPs.
But you also will have what it costs for that employee to do the job. So that would have your insurance and retirement pension in there. So, and we don't, the town's budget is not built that way. You have to look at a different place in the budget to see those numbers. So remember that.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at a police budget, that's city,
All in.
it's all in. So
Well,
that's
kind of.
what do you mean?
So can we separate this only
Okay.
because this is something I actually do know pretty well. The city roads and highway budget gets passed by the town council. The RTM cannot change that number. We approve it and move it on.
Right.
You could disapprove it and still move it on. I
Mhm.
mean, it really, there's nothing you can do with that.
Right.
The police budget's a whole nother matter. So the police budget is the entire police budget minus the chief's salary cut in half.
Right.
So.
Right.
And
that has everything in it though.
That is everything. So
Whereas
we have-
our police budget, when we look at it, we don't see in the budget under police, you are not going to see the whole picture. You're only going to see the salary.
Correct. You're not gonna see all of the
Benefits.
benefits.
Nope, you
correct.
have to go into a different, it's all lumped into one. We don't know what that benefit is for each person.
Well, and vehicles would be someplace else also.
Yep, that's in a fleet account. Mhm.
Yes.
mhm.
So the police budget is.
The city police
the
budget,
city police budget and the Groton Long Point police budget is 50% of the entire budget minus the.
right, and when she says entire budget, that's the salary and the health care cost, any of the fringe and retirement pension budget cost,
Everything. Yeah.
and the vehicle cost,
So gas.
gasoline, and right? mhm.
Yep.
And then there's also the highway lights, the lighting. We pay for the city lights and the Groton Long Point lights.
I believe they've all been changed over to LED.
I know
believe.
that there was a huge project that the city, that we've been working on for a long time.
Say they've all changed.
Mhm. I don't know who pays the bill, though. I don't know the electric bill. I have no idea. Groton Utilities.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so,
So that gets kind of confusing every year.
Yep.
But really, the roads and highway one, we could spend all day discussing. But in the end of it, there's nothing really to discuss.
Right.
We don't have any jurisdiction over it.
we don't get it.
The police, we do.
So let's look at my budget and the town clerk's budget on page 15. Well, it starts on 57. That's just this, yeah.
You said we were going back.
Yeah.
The first section.
And then the next couple of pages, the next 3 pages will give you more detail, and it's not a lot of detail. It really isn't. So you're going to see on page 3, you'll see cost centers. They're called cost centers. So you'll see 5101, which is my regular employees. And that's the same cost center in everybody's budget. 5101 is your regular employee, full-time employee, FTE. FTE is a full-time employee. And then 5102 is part-time personnel. And I've only had that once because of the presidential election. You can see that. Oh boy, $175. Those are real dollars. That's not 175,000. Yeah. Yeah, those are real numbers. So those cost centers are the same in everybody's, in every account's budget. The regular full-time, the part-time, the overtime, the salary adjustments, and social security. You're not going to see a difference in any budget. They're all that same number sequence. And then operating expenses are similar, are in mind. There are more in other, there are more cost centers in other budgets for operating expenses. This is all I have. I don't have other ones. I mean, we used to have Charter Revision had its own cost center. I don't list that anymore.
Healthcare in 5101.
5101.
Like in the regular time, it's the healthcare cost.
No. No, you're not going to see, that's what I'm trying to point out to you.
Yeah.
You're not going to see any of the benefits that employees get in this budget. We have to go, and I think I'll show you the page. I don't know it by heart. It's finance, self-funded plans, page 86. We'll have it. We'll have what our insurance cost is in 82. So 82 and 86.
So that everyone comes together with the same.
Right, now remember, we have 5 different unions in this town of Groton, and they all negotiate for different packages.
But we do not see it.
So your finance committee is going to be taking those individual accounts. Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot. So my budget was passed yesterday by the committee of the whole. The main things that I can tell you about mine is it's contractual, most of it. I do fund for material and supplies, postage, but we've seen such an increase. It's incredible. The postage 3 times this year went up, 3 times. And so when we look at a big election coming up in November, that's the second largest election. Presidential's first in the state. It's huge. And those envelopes that we send are big. Those are $1.60. They were last year, $1.60 for each envelope. And 3,000 envelopes. It was incredible, So yeah, that's why it's expensive. So I don't pay for any of the actual material that I'm sending. That's all paid by the state, which is of course our money too. But it doesn't show up in my budget. Secretary of the State's budget. You'll see in my budget, and this will be interesting for other budgets. In my financing plan, there's a miscellaneous state revenue, 10,000. They didn't ask me last night. $10,685. That, pardon? This is on page. Oh, this isn't mine. Yes, it is. 58. Page 58. That's my money. It's on page 58, the financing plan, where I pay for my budget. That's the idea of a financing plan is, oh, can you pay for your budget by what you bring in? Come on, that's not fair. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair because not every department collects money. So, the tax office, of course, there's huge revenues bringing in, right? It'd be coming in anyway. Yeah, no matter who's there. So I'll take the glory, but it's really not me. Okay. Yes, GF means general fund, but you'll see in my financing plan in 2021, this is the budget we're currently in, there was $10,685. That was grants that I got, so applied for and got. And I don't have those going forward. So And I did get a grant from Melinda Gates, $5,000 grant. So that's not taxpayer money. Woohoo. Thanks. They put out no, they said, here's $65 million for election costs. Any town clerk, any town or state or anybody can apply for it. And so I told her what I was gonna do with it, and I got it. So there we go.
Good for you.
It's all right.
They gotta pay for their divorce now.
She's, well, yeah. Well, I also apply for every year a grant. It's through the state library. They put a preservation, historic preservation fund grant. Now, I'm not the only one that could apply for that. Other departments could. And I asked them, but I'm gonna use it if I can get it. So it's based on how much money is collected through conveyance fees. We share the conveyance fee with the state. And if the legislature doesn't rob the money out of it, and we share it through all these grants. And ours, we're considered a medium-sized town, and the grant through the last couple of years is $7,500. So, and I use that for things so the town doesn't pay for it. Not people, it's things. So, are there any questions about my budget and how it's set up?
That was a pretty good explanation. Thank you.
What else did I send you? Let's see.
What about the subcommittees?
Oh, contingency, yeah. So remember, I said that the town manager puts together a budget and the council committee, actually, the committee works on it and then the council approves it. They send to the R.T.M what they want done. Well, you still get to see that town manager number. So if the council cut the town manager's budget or raise the amount, the R.T.M may restore it back to the town manager's budget without too much trouble.
Are you talking about, that's actually a good explanation. Let's talk about the top part, the actual versus adjusted versus estimate.
Mhm.
So people understand what's the actual number.
Yep. So you'll see in my budget, well, these actuals, we know what I've done. Well, we think we know this year. And or 2021, 2022 budget is still an estimate. It's called adjusted. At the next, we've got an estimate what I think, and I estimate maybe I'll do a little better than what I thought I was really going to do. I mean, I really try to do my best not to spend everything, and then it'll go back into the general fund, and you don't have to raise as much money. That's the whole, I never know. I pretty much know, but it's never exact, and no one's budget can be exact because who knew what was going to happen, right?
Especially during the COVID era.
Right. We made a lot of money off of COVID though, in my department, because people refinanced their homes. The interest rates were really low. A lot of homes, well, we didn't sell that many homes in town, but a lot of refinancing. So that's why our conveyance is all over the place.
And should we expect that there will be a mix of things where the town council ups the budget versus comes in lower than the town manager, or is it very rare that the town council comes in lower?
The only thing I've ever seen recently that is different from town manager is outside agencies. The council tends to want to give a little more money to outside agencies.
Can you give an example of an outside agency?
Sure. Let's see.
Knowing library.
Yeah, well, yeah. The Noack Mystic Library is an outside SCAD, the pump out boat,
I think I just saw one for homelessness. They want to give them
Excuse me?
$10,000.
that is not an outside agency. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, it is. Yeah, the nursing, that's not just the schools though. They also do the senior center,
Oh, that would have been that separate thing you gave me.
the outside agencies.
I think it wasn't.
Right.
It?
That's the education budget. It's only a couple pages. Let me see. No, outside agency, let's see, it's gotta be here.
Wasn't in the first.
Well, it's here, but it's on one page. for the-
Yeah, it's one page. Mhm.
Well, last year's budget did not have that, had the description.
Like Groton ambulance.
Right. Right. 172. Page, well, 174. Yeah. 172 is those are health service agencies, and then outside agencies are on page 174. So health and service agencies are a group, and that has Ledge Light, VNA, so the Visiting Nurses Association, both in school and what they do for homebound and senior center programs. And then service agencies, there's a whole bunch of them, and you'll see them listed on page 174. It's not as long as it used to be. We used to have a lot more that asked for money, but this is small comparatively.
What is SCAD?
Southeastern Connecticut Alcohol and Drug Dependency, I want to say. I could be wrong on that.
Now, are all these acronyms back in that glossary?
I don't. We get both. I worked at Johnson.
Some of them are. If not, quick Google, always put grind here, you'll find it.
What's that? Oops.
All the
A
acronyms.
lot of
Oh.
them are-
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought they were.
Acronyms.
Yeah, I think they're in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are in the back, the acronyms.
I think it's 254.
Mhm. And you get, we used to get a separate leaflet that had, but I don't know if they're planning on doing that this year.
The description.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we got those. but
You did?
It wasn't here.
Right.
120 pages.
Okay, you did get that. Okay. That's what you're talking about.
That was an email though.
Oh,
That was an email, yeah.
Okay, so where are we? We are,
One quick question in
Yep.
here. I just want a confirmation.
Mhm.
So typically, we cannot go line by line and say on your budget, we can't say, we think, and the RTM believes that we should raise this budget, lower this budget.
yes, you can.
We can go.
Yes, yeah. The town budget, you can go line by line.
wow.
So we
Yeah.
can Say
That
that
could
you
take
shouldn't spend this
forever.
much on your computer.
Computer, well, now I'm saying this,
I'm
computer, you
working
can
on
go ahead, you can, but the computer is one of those funds. So IT has the entire town fund for computers for everybody. So that's where you would cut it. So if we're buying 120 computers this year, you'll say, oh, only get 100.
I think the education is different.
Oh, yeah, education, you can't do line by line, but my budget, yeah, you could say, hey, you're gonna only spend, you know, cut $200 out of your materials, do it. I don't care if you don't, get to do whatever you need to do.
You also have to remember, we can't force anybody to do, like, let's say you don't want the computers, we can't do anything about it. You pass the bottom line of that.
Well, that's true in any budget, so I say that I'm going to spend this money in this cost center for these items. What if I'm gifted, somebody gives me, 6 reams of paper, I'm not gonna need to spend that. So I might spend that money someplace else that's similar to that within there. But I'd have to get approval if I wanted to spend it on like a desk. That I'd have to ask the RTM.
If it's over 10,000, but not 100.
If I'm changing what I'm spending in my budget that drastically, I have to get approval. I have to get
If it's
approval.
under 10,000.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. You want me to buy that desk? Right. Let's see. I gave you a precedence of motions. This is something that, boy, do we get all whacked out of place with, what's right, what's wrong, and point of order, and you're doing this wrong. And it's just, let's just not be so crazy. It's very simple. Everybody should have an opportunity to speak, and You know, it'd be nice if everybody paid attention so they don't repeat something that somebody just asked, but that happens. If you're reading, you can't hear when you're reading. Right?
Can't
Yeah,
multitask.
To
huh?
some extent.
You don't
There are
provide,
some questions I've seen asked 3 times.
you don't
But-
provide,
What I'm saying is people are reading, so they can't hear that question being asked. So they might miss that whole dialogue.
you try to read beforehand, try to get understand if you should, but do you give Robert's rules? You don't do like, the town doesn't give those out to elected now. I think it'd be nice to people, so people know. what-
Ka-ching.
Yeah.
Put it in my budget. I'll do it for you.
Yeah,
I have mine up in the house.
Yeah, but if you want to put it in my budget, I'd be glad to. I mean, I do have I gave everybody the little handout ones when you first became elected. It's minuscule, but it's just it's really all you need for our body. We don't need that big book.
Well, it's
That's
nice
trying to
have
cover every single thing for every different committee there is in the
somebody
country, you know?
Certain paragraph or something. Go take a look.
But the precedent, those motions are, you know, the privileged motions, the secondary motions, the main motions, those are important to get familiar with. So you say, wait a minute, you know, we already passed that. You can't go back to it unless somebody on the prevailing side, reconsiders, you know?
And if a motion doesn't get a second, it dies.
Correct. If a motion doesn't get a second, it
Remember that.
dies. And you should, and in my opinion, you do what you want, but in my opinion, a motion should never be seconded unless it has value. Don't second
Don't do
something
it
just
immediately.
for discussion. The whole point is we don't want to discuss it. It doesn't have merit, right? It happens, but rarely. Most motions get a second for various reasons, usually because somebody else wants it. Especially with budgets. Usually you'll team up with somebody, you'll be sitting there with your calculators. The motion to recess, this is something very important. If you want something discussed in your caucus, you go to your floor leader and you say, call a recess. I need to discuss this with you guys. That can be done at any time, except during a vote. If a vote's incommencing, if the moderator calls for a vote and we start taking a vote, you can't recess.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Because it's new to me.
Okay.
What exactly is a floor manager?
A floor leader?
Yeah.
The floor leader in the RTM, there's one for the Republican Party and one for the Democratic Party.
They're like a majority or.
Yeah, so they meet with their caucus, and only the people that are on the RTM that are from that party can be in that caucus. You can't invite somebody else, even if they're well, we've had trouble before. Oh, we'll bring a counselor
Do they
in.
have
No,
power?
pardon?
Do they have power?
The floor leader? No. There's no power. The floor leader, moderator, they all have the same power.
Because I was at the last.
Sorry.
meeting,
Either moderator
the
has
last
same
one.
power.
You don't have your vote doesn't isn't more powerful than anybody else's vote.
Okay.
The floor leader, though, runs a caucus meeting.
I know it's for the Democrats.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And John Scott is a Republican.
Yeah, John
So-
Scott's for the
So the
Republicans.
floor leader's job is to run the caucus meeting. There's always at least one or two members of your caucus that are versed in their budgets. You might be lucky and have more,
Well, I'm
to
just
get.
asked
yeah.
because I went to the last.
I don't want to hear about your caucus.
No. I'm just saying that there were very few people there.
Oh.
I mean, should people go? Shouldn't they go?
Well, I mean, it's hard to get to a meeting at 6:30, in my opinion. If you work until 5, you got to go home, make dinner for your family, and then get out to a meeting. It's tough. I think it's hard.
The last one was Zoom as well.
Well, yeah. In the end of April, I think the town is planning on always having Zoom. I really do. Because that all comes from the Freedom of Information Act. Freedom of Information Act says that you may attend a meeting in any way that's even electronic, be there in person or be there by an electronic means. Electronic is pretty broad, telephone, Zoom, right? So that's been there for a long time, at least since 1950, I would say, the electronic. So because you could have a speakerphone and a member could be there.
Oh, we did that.
We did it at the RTM with,
Before the
with Representative Foster. He's not on now, but he was away at a you know, business meeting. And so he called in and I just put the phone next to the speaker and it was great.
Sorry if I missed this in the accounts, but where these are similarly formatted, a lot of these budgets, is there like an Excel document or something that, because you mentioned us with our calculator?
Yes.
Make it easier to
To Woo, let's ask the man, oh, yeah, the Excel spreadsheet that we have, it is tallying.
But
Yeah.
About overall budget, it wasn't like each line item.
No, it'll
Is that
just be
not
each,
correct?
no, it's just each cost, you know, each department. Yeah.
but they will have their cost centers on there.
The cost, well,
Not broken down.
no, it's not broken down that far. So,
So not, this is not an Excel, this.
no, well,
It is.
It is, but it's
combined,
not-
broken, that you won't have those smaller numbers.
I think it's a total. isn't it?
we do have our finance program, but it's not, you can't have access to it because you could mess the whole thing up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know you wouldn't, but
I'm troubled.
So you can make it so that people can't do anything to it. You can do. that.
oh yeah, I don't have ability to go in there and mess with certain stuff.
This is an
Yeah,
Excel
I mean, they've
template.
been
This
doing
is
that
some other
since the
finance
80s.
program that generates the.
Yeah, I'm sure that was
Got it.
done by computer.
Yeah, we have a company through Tyler Technologies called Munis.
Okay.
And that's our finance program, although we're still using the old Penimation too, so it was a great program. I don't know why we changed, but that's just, I didn't get to make the decisions. I don't know. Okay, so we did the motions. Oh, something I want to tell you that is the truth about the annual meeting. It is one meeting. So we might have 7 meetings, probably not, probably 5. But that's one whole, those are sessions. Those are one whole meeting. So a motion to reconsider can happen at any time during that time. I mean, you're gonna get booed, believe me, if you go back to day 1. But if you have a good reason, if you found out, you know, hey, the council's got a grant to pay for that and we don't need to fund it now, you know, why wouldn't you bring it up, right? So so you can, and a motion to reconsider, you should not be quiet about it. Let everybody know you're gonna do it and why, and then you'll get the support, maybe. Pardon?
Said we get this on the second. of
Second
April,
and the-
so should we expect that meeting to be like the 7th holiday?
No, no.
Start on the second and we'll
Oh,
go
okay, it just
till
goes every-
about 10 o'clock.
Yeah, 10
Okay.
o'clock, you have to have, yeah, 10 o'clock is the witching hour according to the moderator's letter. And it would be, the body that's there has to decide to take it, anything. Yeah, you really would. If you only have 2 more items to look at in the public works budget and it's 10 o'clock, you're gonna take those last 2 items. Yeah, I mean, it's logical.
Punch drunk, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think Representative Gardner was on an RTM where the meetings, we had 2 meetings go past midnight. And the body wanted to, and Representative Gardner said, I have to go home. So
Just as a reminder, at the end of the meeting, we don't take a motion
to adjourn, no, we recessed.
to take a motion to recess.
And then you start again the next day.
Yep, and she reconvenes the next, yeah, the next meeting that's scheduled, it's a reconvening of that meeting. Mhm.
For planning purposes.
Mhm.
I'm just like looking at my calendar.
Just lock up.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't know until like the week.
24/7, all the month of April.
Okay. And I guess my other question was, I noticed on the simple majority and the counts for 2/3, is that who's in the room or the entire body?
Pardon me?
Who's in the room?
Who's in the room?
Okay.
That's a good
The
question.
majority and the 2/3, it's who's in the room versus the entire body, it's who's in the room.
Mm,
And it still,
Depends on what you're doing.
it still has to be a quorum
Well,
begin
hold
with.
on, let me pull out-
Yeah.
But you start.
So if you have, we have 41 members, no, we have 41 members
You
to,
have to have
we
a quorum
need,
to continue.
you need to have 2/3 of that 41 to do, restore.
2/3 vote of the members present are voting to restore.
Mhm.
So at that one where a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, the key word is members present.
Right.
You really shouldn't have a vote.
If we do not have if we do not have a quorum, we cannot have a vote.
Correct.
As long as we have a quorum, we can continue. But once 10 o'clock rolls around,
Okay.
we will
Right.
finish what we're doing and then we will take,
Can you even have more discussion without a quorum?
well,
No, no, you
You can't
can't,
do
no,
anything.
no, if you don't have a quorum, you don't have a meeting, period, period,
Right.
period,
So,
period.
so if we're paying attention to that screen and that the last person blinks out, we're done.
we're done. We take a
And that
motion.
happened
Well,
last
and
time.
we could
We're,
even-
we're,
Yeah.
we're moderator and the clerk and members, I mean, hopefully people will let us know from the Zoom. We try to see the correct, believe me, people sneak out, but you really shouldn't. You should make sure we know you're leaving. It's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, raise your hand, I'm leaving.
That's
you know.
courtesy.
Well, there's a lot going on, there's 41 of you.
Okay, and then. the
Well, 40
2/3
right now, we had a resignation.
And the 2/3 is whatever it is rounded up, I'm noticing, it's like 2/3 of 35 is 24.
Right, it isn't
It
really,
is-
yeah.
It is rounded up to
Yeah.
the next.
It is, yeah.
It's not actually 2/3 of in the room, in the meeting, you gotta count the Zoom people.
Correct.
Right,
And they're
right.
considered in the.
But like, but,
They're present.
Members present.
but it's
The key word.
it's
is present.
2/3 of
They
the
could be present electronically.
body, not just who's present.
3
I'm
minutes
sorry?
ago.
2/3 of the body, not
Not according to the charter.
2/3 of who's present. Oh, okay.
It
All right.
says
Yeah.
2/3 of the members present and voting.
Can restore.
And restore.
Yeah, I'll check it.
John must be watching. The charter says you can cut appropriations. We don't have a line item and the charter only says you can cut appropriations. We don't have a line item budget. It's 9.4.
34 will still be 24.
Yeah, we don't have a line item. We
Yeah.
can cut the bottom number. We
There's a
can't
total.
go in and, we can cut the.
Right,
total
but you can
number.
make the suggestion, you say, because I mean, I know what you want me to cut, but that doesn't mean I have to buy the paper. I have to buy the paper.
Yeah, I could say,
Mhm.
I want to cut Betsy's budget by whatever the amount of the paper is.
Mhm.
But I'm saying, I want to cut her budget by $2,000.
Right,
But it's your budget cut by $2,000.
Right.
We did not zero out that.
right, but
cost.
you might mention that. You might mention it.
Correct.
You can adjust
That
it
would be
any way
great.
you want.
Yeah.
You can
Right.
Adjust it any way you do it.
Within, well, not entirely. I can't, yeah, right, right. But like I have overtime in different cost centers for different things. But that overtime can be moved within any part of my budget, the funding. You say, I didn't need that person for this, but I need him for that. Right,
But
Also,
you
if you're
can't
putting an
do
amendment,
overtime for paper.
you better be able to justify it. So you have to be,
Well,
you have the upper
right,
hand.
right. That's a good point. So if you wanted to cut my budget by $2,000, why? You can't just willy-nilly,
Well, again,
right?
That's
I mean,
good.
I don't think your body's gonna,
You don't wanna print it.
What's the latest in everybody seeing?
I do it all
They
electronic.
asked you that.
there's a bill that the Secretary of the State has put forward to clean up the statute to allow sickness instead of illness. Okay,
It was passed.
Yeah,
It's
it
on
can-
GAE.
yeah, the committee passed it, the committee passed it, but now it's got to go to the House, now the Senate has it.
We'll most likely pass.
What?
We'll most likely.
It probably will pass in the Senate, but the House is all set with it.
We also don't have the right to say, I don't think Betsy needs a staff, and we're going to cut a staff member.
Oh, yeah, you can.
We can't cut people.
No, but you could cut $35,000 out of my budget. What else would I do, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right, so the town manager, when everybody
Go back
puts their,
to the dates and be like, I
I need this, Melinda. No, there-
Direct line to Melinda.
what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. $35,000 for an employee. Oh, I was gonna say that the town manager, when we're developing the budget, he does ask for scenarios for cutting. If we had to cut for some reason, we had a catastrophe, what would you do? You have to cut your budget, right? To pay for essential services. He has to know what you can do. So he has a list of, from every department, what could happen, what could happen
Plan B.
for like a catastrophe. And by law, right? What's that? A doomsday list. Yeah, you hear that, John? Doomsday list.
Can you discuss what constitutes a conflict of interest?
Oh, that's always a good one, right? So we had an example last night because the mayor's mom works for my office, okay? He didn't need to recuse himself because he doesn't benefit from if it's his wife or he himself.
If you're the dependent number.
Well, that's, right. So what a conflict would be is if you directly have a financial interest in the vote that's about to be taken. So we all do. We all have conflicts. Every one of you have a conflict. Because you're deciding on what your taxes, right? But we don't look at it that way because you're representing the whole town. That's why it's not a conflict, but certainly it would be a conflict because you're benefiting if you cut, right?
Yeah.
But it's not looked at that way. So if your wife works for the Board of Ed, you should announce that. You don't have to recuse yourself, but you should announce that because it's not just her salary that's being voted on, you see?
How about a Supreme Court assistant and his wife?
Oh, we don't get to vote.
I'm just saying.
Well, I'm glad we don't have to make that decision, Lee. I'm glad.
I don't know if the answer to this, but just wondering, where the overall budget would, looks like would decrease the mill rate by 3.58. I know that I saw a lot of discussion about the higher assessment and houses. Do you have a sense of what the rate, like your assessment increased by 20% or whatever it is, what would hold your taxes constant?
Boy, I don't want to answer this question,
Okay,
but I'll tell you what I think is, your assessment is your assessment.
Yeah.
The mill rate will go down because they are going to apply money,
Yeah.
right, to bring it down, but you're still going to pay the increase. Right? I believe. I don't see how, I don't know. We'll have Cindy Landry here to explain that to you at the
Those are
finance
questions
committee.
you should be-
Get ready for it. To me, it's difficult to understand that. When you lower the mill rate, it doesn't matter. You're still gonna have to raise the tax to pay for things,
What happened here was because John Burke said we didn't need more money.
because he took 3 million from the
So now
unassigned.
it's coming back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that is
So there's like that-
money that you collected.
Right.
Mhm. I don't know, please remember, you are volunteers trying to do the best you can. I don't believe there's a single person on the RTM or the town council or the Board of Ed that have an ulterior motive to hurt or benefit from. You're all here and thank goodness you are.
Yeah, we just want to run and good.
It is good. It's great. And you guys help it be great.
Gotta make it better.
Is there anything from the Zoomers? Any questions from the Zoomers?
I have a question. I don't know if you already said this, but like when we start meeting as the RTM, does each committee go between all the committees? Every page of the budget has already been gone over? Is that?
Yes. Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yes, by one committee. Yeah, and you'll have a report. When the account comes up, you'll have the information, but you'll have the information prior to the meetings anyway. You'll have all the information. But yes, the entire budget will have been reviewed by one or the other committees.
So to give you an example of that, I was the chair of the Public Safety Committee the last 2 years. So we would get the three budgets, the town, the city, and the Groton Long Point budget, as well as any CIPs for the town police budget. We went through each of those budgets and came up with a recommendation. And then I presented that information to the RTM as a whole and said, I make a motion for the town police that we fund this in the amount of whatever the recommendation was from the committee. And then there was a second, and then we had discussion. And then at that point, the RTM could say yes, no, and work, proposed other numbers. And then we went, say to the city police, and we did the same thing. So everything in this book will be looked at by a committee, and then that committee chair will bring that information forward at the RTM meeting.
So then say the RTM wants to change something, does the committee go back and meet?
No,
No,
No, okay. So that's basically what the RTM does then. Like all the committees present what they did and we vote to approve it or not approve it or change it.
correct.
Okay.
did you have any other thoughts that you wanted to suggest?
Well, no, I just wasn't sure like how detailed we got, I guess, as an RTM body. But it sounds like the details are
Discussed in
committee-
committee.
yeah. That makes sense.
Most of it's discussed in committee, and that will be in the report by the committee chair. So the committee chair will say, the committee discussed this and this, and that's how they came up with this number. So they may say, we looked at Betsy's budget and we don't think she needs paper clips, so we're gonna cut her budget by $500. It can't be a tiny, and then somebody could say, I want to restore that back up to the full amount. That isn't a restoration, that's not a 2/3 vote. That's just back up to the same number. If somebody said, I think Betsy should get $1,000 more,
Can't do it.
then
You can't do that.
that would be the problem.
Yeah, you
Right.
can't go over the town manager's budget, though. You can't.
Right. So the other thing to keep in mind is
Council
that
can, but RTM can't.
if
Sorry, say that one.
The town council can go over the town manager's budget, but the RTM cannot.
the RTM may cut appropriations recommended in the budget, and by 2/3 vote of the members present and voting, restore cuts made in a department appropriation by the council.
But not above the town
Yeah,
manager.
in no case can the final total of the budget be greater than the proposed by the town manager.
So you can't ever go above his number.
The RTM cannot. The
The
town council may.
Council can.
That's what I'm
That's
reading.
why there's no motion on your example that's like at 102,000.
Right.
Because that's not, okay.
That's right. That's right.
And I would recommend going and just watching all the stuff on GMTV.
Absolutely. Watch the,
Bring yourself up to speed.
watch what the town council committee of the whole is doing.
The schedule is pretty
Intense.
helpful.
Yeah,
But I
all
mean,
the
if you
council.
watch them, you'll see all the interaction going on.
The other thing to consider is that, say, somebody makes a motion for $5 or for $500, say. You can't say, I think it should be $499.
No, that would be called out of order as a frivolous.
It's a frivolous motion.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we need to make sure that we're making motions that are significant, that there's a reason behind it,
Mhm.
not just throwing out numbers.
And it helps to give the reason.
Correct.
Sometimes there's, truthfully, sometimes there's not a reason, you just want to cut it. I mean, it happens. I mean, I've seen,
Well, the reason is
Seen
they
that.
might be tired.
you just think that the budget's too bloated and you just want to cut it. And so you just willy-nilly cut.
Tired, wanna go
Mhm.
home, get punch drunk.
So, did that get everything? Anybody else? If you have any questions, you can certainly email or call me. If I can't answer it, certainly, I'll ask the town manager or finance director, but the mill rate, that's gotta be really explained. In terms that you can understand. I mean, I understand the,
Well, there's a
how it's,
formula.
how it's calculated. I understand how it's calculated. What does it mean at the end result? So like we do with a bonding project, we need to have that understood. You know, we see it's gonna cost you this much money and it's gonna cost you, you know, for a house that's $100,000, it's gonna cost you $25 a year.
Yeah.
More,
You
right?
also remember, things are gonna get cut along the way, which means the number drops, and just changes things up.
Right, right. Okay, well, that, wait, go ahead.
Well, this year's different, right? We've discussed that because we had this big increase in residential housing. And so if it's going to affect taxes in many different ways, and I'm not going to get into it because it's a little bit difficult to understand, but you have a new mill rate, you have a new rating, you have a new valuation, and you calculate that, and it's going to vary. I'm seeing some really weird numbers in terms of the revaluations, and some people are actually, their taxes will go down. Even though the appraisal went up, their taxes might go down because their revaluation was far less than somebody who had a high valuation, which, you know, so the range was, I don't know, from 0% all the way up to, you know, 60% in terms of how they revalued the houses. So that's just something that will affect you. It's not that simple that you have just a, you know, the grand list went up and then and so the mill rate went down. So it all works out even. That's not really correct. If anybody wants to comment on that, please do.
I think there's sort of a redistribution of the proportion, right, with the assessment. Like, there are some people who went up by such a significant percentage, and that's part of what I'm trying to get at, is if like you went up by 50, if your assessment went up by 50,000 or 10%, like if there's some value that, like if we know the mill rate's gonna drop by 3 points, do we have a sense at that point of like anyone whose house went up by less than 10%, they are going to pay the same or fewer taxes or more than that, or at 50, whatever that is, and having an understanding of what that implies on the tax, on what they're paying. But yeah, I think that there will be, it's all.
Now, can that change if somebody like appeals?
I think that the appeal process period is already over.
Oh,
So.
Yes, I agree. I believe it is.
okay.
Mine only went up by $800, so I was like, I will take that.
Well, now everybody who's attended this meeting has all this information, so you'll be able to answer those questions on the floor or in your caucuses.
Well, and I think that question is a Cindy.
We
question
definitely,
where-
well, even the tax assessor may have a paper that explains it. And so let's look at it.
I just think
I'll
there's a
take-
lot of
Yeah,
questions.
I'll take a look at her website to see if she has, if the assessor's office has something that explains that, and I'll send it to you. Yeah, because it's a simple question. Everybody has it. Everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
What? Oh, okay.
Simple. It's simple.
Bye-bye.
All right.
What? Alfie, we can't hear you. What did you say?
I was agreeing that it's a simple question and that's all.
Yeah, I'll ask the town manager. But I'll look on the assessor's website. I bet that there's something there that explains. Well, if it's not, we can ask for it. And it should be in writing so we can understand it. You know, everybody can understand it. Not just a quick explanation that some of us will say, what did she just say? That happens all the time though. I'm certain that I didn't hear that right. Yeah.
Are there any further questions?
All right, you guys are great. You're great. This is the best body ever.
I will take a motion to adjourn.
All right.
All right. 8:32.
Bailey, second.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Representative Bailey.
Thanks, Betsy. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, Betsy.
All
Thanks,
right,
everybody. Thank you so much.
all right,
Hey, have a
guys.
good night.
Okay. Stop recording.
Katrina, who understands rules,
Oops. Stop recording.